Hi everyone, I hope you're having a great week. So, before I play the blog for this week, I have a question for you all. And the question is, what kind of learner are you? So, you might be thinking, I am a visual learner, or I am an audio learner, or I learn through experience, or I learn through whatever I'm interested in. And so, I just want you to keep in mind your answer before you hear Kyle talk, because Kyle did this specific check-in with all the members on one of the calls, and then he gave a talk about how to be a learner and our concept of that after being raised in this country and through our school system. And so he just sheds light on all of that kind of stuff, and I found it really valuable, and so I hope you do too. And another thing that I want to say is that throughout the call, you'll notice that I put in like a little screen that says Learning How to Learn by Kyle Mercer, and it just appears randomly throughout the video. And the reason that I did that was because I took the call from Zoom, and sometimes one of the members' faces would pop up during Kyle's talk. And so, just to ensure their privacy, I put that there over the audio. So that's why you'll see that throughout the video.
And so every time I say I am or I'm like this, it's a limitation. It's like we've decided. Like um, like I learned early on that I couldn't sing, so I've just had this definition: I can't sing, and that all these limitations are trained. We're actually all vastly capacity, have huge capacity to learn and absorb and have insight and all those kind of things. And it's just a matter of the willingness to apply ourselves from an open space. And so each one of you kind of, on some level defined your limitation around it as much as you defined your strength. So if you say, I learn like this, you've eliminated all the other possibilities for learning. And this came up the other day on the inquiry method training. I had a day where I gave a lot of information. So it's just been on my mind. And I noticed at the end of the training, I felt exhausted because I could feel everybody else's exhaustion and upset and these kind of things about it. And just like, oh, it's too much information to process and all that kind of thing. And part of that too much information to process, all that kind of stuff is just because we're trying so hard and because we're like efforting in or feeling like we've got to do that all. And so like people oftentimes, like when I'm working with people, say, well, how do you remember this? Or how do you remember that? Or how'd you figure that out? And it's from source. It's just, I'm not really actually, I'm not mentally paying attention. I'm just opening up the possibility from source and I'm paying attention. And then I have deep trust in the capacity to bring it back, right? When necessary. It's just like that there's a trust in source, there's a trust in knowing. Our systems are actually like on a mental level, when I focus on something, right? I can really only bring my attention to like 1% of all the information if I'm trying to use my brain with it. And so I'm filtering down to 1%, and then I need it very linear and step by step and all those kind of things. But when I open up to learn from source, is I'm taking in all the information, because source is not limited by cognition, maybe you might say. It's taking in all the information at once, and then there's trusting self to notice the relevant information, and have it come up. So like when I teach coaching, people say, wow, you must have a great memory. I have a terrible memory. I really don't, I don't remember people's names very often. I don't remember what happened in the past. I just don't remember much. And I also seem to have like the right recall when something's useful in a moment, but I'm not trying or efforting or struggling to retain that stuff. But I do seem to either have the information or this ability just to figure something out, and it's just being present. And it's like source. I just create space around it. Sometimes like a pause when there's a problem, and I just wait. And then that's when those eureka moments or insight moments come along. And I agree. I think there has to be a desire, but the desire, I would say, is to even make it broader, is just like you wait for the desire to be able to do something, and then you just open up to the possibility of it. One of the things that I learned, that was very useful when I was getting my history degree, it was kind of funny that I went through the first 3 years of college, and I went to my advisor and they said, you only have one class in each department. How are you going to graduate? And so I only had, and I was overseas for one of the terms of my senior year. And they said, well, the only way you actually have 2 history courses. So if you take all history courses for the rest of your college career, you can have a history degree. I said, okay, great, I'll graduate. And I just took straight history. And one of the things is I just had this awareness that like all information was available because I could research anything. And that was even before Google, Wikipedia, any of that stuff, of course, but I just have this trust that any of the information that I need is available. And now YouTube and all that stuff's amazing. Like my espresso machine, you just look up there and it says, oh, here, I've been studying this for 10 years. Here's the perfect way to do it. It's like 0 to 10 years of experience in that thing in an instant. It's like amazing. But just like there's this sense that anything's available and possible. And then opening up to the possibility, pause, and open up to it. So like on my lecture the other day on levels, it's like we don't need to figure it out. It's like, it's the same as inquiry. Like when I'm sitting across from somebody, I'm just curious. I'm just paying attention and I'm not really trying to hold on to anything. I'm just trusting that my system will bring in all the information. And in that, there's a different quality of presence that's not being limited by the filter of your mind and the limitations you put on your learning. We're all audio and visual and all that stuff. And there's a relaxation that we can do around the learning that just opens it up. And it's like taking the brakes off. And you can just absorb all the information and be present. But school is so detrimental to all of us. I mean, it is just, I keep saying, I don't think anybody believes me, but putting it into a single form and a single modality and having authority and then students, which we were all subjected to, is just so limiting. And it makes us decide all these things about our learning. There's that book, oh, what's it? See, I'm not going to remember it right now. Mindset. There's a book, Mindset. And, she's proven through her studies that all these limitations are just mindset. If you believe it's possible, it becomes possible. If you believe it's possible to grow, and as soon as you decide it's not possible to grow or learn or develop within that context, you're in a fixed mindset. Like I can't do math or I can't do this stuff. Math's really simple. I mean, all of it's available to any of us. Like I know even calculus or something. I don't know anything about calculus right now, but I know if could learn it pretty dang quick, much quicker than school. I mean, the way they do it in school is ridiculous. I mean, learning arithmetic and stuff, like people were saying, as soon as I want to learn it, I can learn it. Like that's the feeling. If as soon as I want it, or as soon as I desire it, is I have all the capacity to figure these things out. But it's just been beaten into us over and over again that we're limited in these areas. And that's why inquiry training is so powerful. It's just coming to it with an open, I don't know. And in that not knowing, it opens us up to incredibly possible learning. Like darts, I decided to learn darts the other day. So I got a dart board and I watched one YouTube video on how to throw darts. And then I just started practicing. I'd try different things. Hey, what if I hold my elbow over here? What happens? And it's just kind of this openness and you just start to figure it out. And your body is amazing. Like just the repetition, like you don't have to, it's not exactly figuring it out. It's just feeling it out and your body will respond beautifully. There's a great book about tennis. Anybody reading? I always forget this one too, the tennis book. Anyway, it says that your mind is there to create a vision, like where you want to hit the ball. So I want it to land in the back corner. And then your mind is there to see where it lands. So your mind says, oh, I'd like it to go over there. And then you swing and you hit the ball. and you see where it lands, and your body will adjust. In tennis, you've got to run across the court and swing your racket, and the face has like a 2-degree angle to even keep it in the court every swing. And you can't possibly think through all those muscle movements. So your body, for everything, even standing or walking, takes so much coordination of your body. You could never think walking, right? It's a feel thing, and your body responds beautifully. But if you're closed down, you slow down the body learning. But just like with the darts, I just throw it. Sometimes I make a little adjustment, hold my elbow in or whatever, and throw it. And I just picture where I want it to go. And just doing that enough times, my body has just learned how to throw the thing. I say, oh, that was it. And then my body kind of learns a little more of that was it. And that wasn't it. That was it. That wasn't it. That's it. It's just like that. And your body wants to respond beautifully to these things. And your mind wants to respond beautifully to these things. And then memory is just way overrated. It's like, oh, I'm losing my memory. So what? I mean, like, I don't remember the name of the tennis book. It doesn't make any difference. None of that stuff is really that important. Presence is so much more valuable than memory. It's just noticing and knowing everything that's possible. And that's where these creative bursts, like, I feel like I'm creating all the time, even like tying my canoe to the top of the thing. I'm just making it up new every time. I don't have, there's an innate kind of experiential knowledge, but not an intellectual knowledge about it. And it's the same. We get all these limitations. Like, I don't know how to do that. I have those too. I mean, like, everybody laughs at me, like Facebook, and Peg is like, here's how to do the Facebook. And I just, like, I haven't been that inspired to learn it, but I know if I decided to learn Facebook, I could learn it within an hour or two, because I just figured it out. And I just hold my presence and I just poke all the buttons and see what happened until, I made happen whatever wanted to happen. But, through this whole educational system and parenting and all this stuff, we've been taught not just to trust our presence. And our presence is plenty. Like presence, relaxation, source. It's just, and you just notice the thing, and you notice and you wait, and then something comes into source. Oh, what if I try this? And then you just notice what happens. And then you make adjustments. And the problem, kind of like Beth was saying, is that fear of making mistakes. It's like just that desire to experiment and play around, like science. It's just fun. I'm just gonna mess with this thing and see how it turns out. And then the knowledge that it's all, like, there's never a problem that I approach and I say, I can't do that. Sometimes I say, I'd rather just hire somebody to do that. But, every time I come to new things. Actually, I had this job at Schweitzer Mountain. I was the building maintenance man, night maintenance man for the whole resort. And everybody else would go home, and then they'd call me like, the freezer in the kitchen doesn't work. I had this one tool. It was just a little light would go on when it's near where electricity is flowing and where it's not. And so you just go poking around. You said, electricity is happening here, not here. It must be a problem with this thing. I wonder what we have to, oh, look, that wire's broken, or whatever it is. And it's just like, they called me MacGyver or whatever, but I didn't know anything, but I just knew that if I put my attention on something and just started paying attention, that it'd be resolved. And it's the same thing with coaching. It's the same thing, we're so hurried in to give the majority consciousness solution, the thing I read in a book, to somebody, to solve their problem or to fix it. And inquiry and just paying attention, we're really wanting to understand what's going on in the system. And if you just do that inquiry with somebody, all of a sudden it just crystallizes and becomes clear, what's going on. But it's just like that curiosity and paying attention, and we put beautiful attention on something. And then it's not so much learning, here in our head is having the formula for it. It's knowing that the possibility exists and that we have this huge resource to draw from. So there's a relaxation around it, a self-trust, a losing of, the stories we have in our identity about, what we're capable or not capable of. And, if we just put our good attention without, let's just say, like, using a computer or whatever. Some people just say, like, I don't understand how to do this. And as soon as you come in with that mindset, everything is filtered through that mindset. As soon as you say, well, I don't know how to use a computer, but I bet lots of people do it. I bet I can poke around and see what's happening here, and I'll just pay good attention and just notice the things and see what happens here. And I know it's all solvable. And it's just a totally different kind of quality. So anyway, that's my rant for today.
So if you enjoyed this talk from Kyle and you're not a member yet, I highly recommend checking out our membership opportunity at our website at lifeataltitude.com. The membership comes with a lot of great things like access to the e-courses and access to a weekly call. The calls are great because you get a lot of bits of wisdom from Kyle and you get to connect with other community members and see everyone's face. And so what was I going to say? Oh shoot, I forgot. Nope, I lost it. All right, have a great weekend, everybody.